and then we're just going to go where we're going to go. So they didn't just lie about Area 51. They built something worse under New Mexico. And in 1979, it erupted in blood. 66 men were unalive, energy weapons fired, and an alien enemy that just didn't fight back. They actually struck first. So you've heard the whispers, but this time you're going to hear every word that they buried. This is what we're going to discuss. And this is the actual classified report information that I'm going to go through. Most of it page by page summaries, no theories, just the truth that they hope would never surface. Now, the question for you and for all of us is, why did we give the GREYS control of the base after the massacre? What deal did we strike to buy our silence? And why did our own president greenlight a 1 megaton nuclear missile aimed at Earth, not at space? And as I said, by the end of this broadcast, you won't just know what happened in Dulce. You're going to understand why they plan to abandon Earth. So this is the information, the evidence, and some people call it war. And so let's begin. All right. So the first thing I want to go into is the Dulce Base massacre. So I'm going to start there for you right off the bat. At Dulce Underground Base in New Mexico, this is where this was. I got a few pictures I think I have here loaded that I can bring some up. And this is kind of where it is or what it looks like. And if you see this is underground stuff, people. And these are things that, you know, kind of some cartoon illustrations of what really happened. But there was a confrontation occurred in 1979 between U.S. military forces and alien GREYS that resulted in, like I say, unaliving of 66 Secret Service, FBI, and Black Beret soldiers. Now, the disaster was the result of alien resistance to the military's effort to remove them from the underground joint facility. So they was either being evicted or we stumbled up on them, one of those. But there was an agreement in place with something that had changed. The GREYS were no longer cooperating. And, you know, we talked about that yesterday a little bit. I hinted on what we was going to get into today when I was on, I think, Forbidden Knowledge last night. And then a little bit of it Monday. So if you haven't watched, go back and watch some of those things and you know, fill your cup on that. Now, according to the reports, at least 100 persons worked with the GREYS at the facility, some willingly, others unknowingly. There were genetic experiments. Why not, right? We know that's been going on. We can assume that right across the back. Human alien hybrid programs, implantation research, and then mind control development underway at the base as well. Now, when you start hearing about all this stuff, and it should start opening your mind up that there were some, you know, joint ventures when it came down to these extraterrestrials and the big secret keepers that we have here. So that should at least tell some of the people, once again, that I've always said, oh, you know, they're coming in peace and all that. And I'm going to clarify something because I read the comments. I want you to know. I read a comment yesterday and the guy was saying, you know, he was talking about me. He says, you know, this guy just putting out fear and fear. And he said the whole video. And he just made this comment. But obviously, I had him entertained enough that he watched the whole video because last night it was like an hour plus, hour and a half. But he made a point. And I'm going to acknowledge that there was some harsh, emotional conflict things that I place into this content to get the point across, to make sure your eyes are useless when your mind is blind so that you're not that way. You get what I'm saying? But to not acknowledge the fact that there's two sides to this coin really tells me that I have to do not just a better job for people like him, but there are people walking around thinking la 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 land, and that's just how this world works. And when you think of the capabilities of what humans could do to one another, you should not even once consider an extraterrestrial, something from a whole nother world that you think they just come here often and say, well, you know, we're just a peaceful thing. And to be blinded that way will be one of those people who will walk right into the light, so to speak, when that craft lands and booty out, we will never hear from them again. So that person, if he's watching tonight, I challenge you, when you see the light come down from the sky and land in front of you, you leave a note that dummy was here on just carving on your car, the back of the seats. Dummy was here, and just go into the light, and we're gonna know where we're gonna go from there. I just had to say, I'm petty. Y'all know I get petty, and that's all I'm saying is that there's a lot of people out there that just think this is one of these deals, and I'm just so shocked when it comes down to this. All right, so anyway, once again, the Greys have been using humans for genetic material. Now you get where I'm going with that, right? This is why I said what I just said. These pesky little Greys had been using humans for genetic material, glandular secretions, and reproductive cells, only because they had an agreement as well, and they broke it. And they was like, no, there were cages holding, human beings, half human hybrids. Some were alive, others were suspended state. This is, and you can Google everything about the Dulce Massacre. There's a lot of information out there. Google it, and it's going to tie some of this stuff in together for you when it comes down to some of the things that we're going to say tonight. But we're going to have a little more commentary as we go. So this was never just a base. It was an underground biotech prison, I would call it. And the question is, who let this happen and who tried to stop it? And the fact that it went on for so long, there was a lot of people that let it happen, ladies and gentlemen. And there was a lot of people who did not try to stop it. It was just that when two power-hungry, greedy, different people got together, from technology to biotech to whatever, there was a disagreement with the heads of state, which was these pesky little heads over here, and whoever the humans was, and they opened up a can of whatever, and it just went back and forth at this point. Now, this is a documented incident, so this should, if enough people research it, they shouldn't be walking around saying is UFOs real. They don't have to say that. But I'm gonna let them go with that one because this is underground. So maybe it wasn't a UFO, right? We're just gonna give them something to work with. But after the incident, the Dulce base was sealed from most United States personnel. Control was quietly ceded to the Greys in exchange for continued technological assistance. So they turned around and said, okay, to these Greys, y'all can have it. You win. Why not? Because if you heard Phil Schneider's stories, and if you've seen his aftermath, and let me see if I got a couple of pictures here. Let me put up here. His fingers, his chest, all of this was done by ray guns and all of these things that you see on this man's chest. He's spoken about it in seminars and everything else. And like I said, you can find some of his videos on YouTube. For those of you who are in the private area, no matter what your membership area is, it don't matter any contributions or whatever. I loaded up one of his entire interviews. I'm just gonna push post in a little bit, and then you can go in there and watch it. You can find different ones, little clips or different stuff here on YouTube as well. But I'll put two different ones in there where he describes what's happening. But tomorrow, we're probably going to go deeper into it tomorrow, okay? And then I'll play some clips here that we will narrate through as well, and we'll do that. It all depends. I got a dental appointment at 10 o'clock, and I'm supposed to have some work. So if the pain is or whatever they're going to be doing is not affected, or maybe they just may say we're going to reschedule some stuff, then we'll be good. But if they say you ain't talking tonight, then y'all going to know. Yeah, I'll be on here like, right? Okay. All right, so let's continue to what we're talking about here. Phil Schneider, he was a former, let me see if I got another picture so you know who I'm talking about. This is this guy right here, Phil Schneider. He's on the left, actually he's on all the photos, and then the other ones was kind of the burnt bodies and different things that was happening from this particular incident. Yeah, they whacked him out, Lydia. Yeah, they took him out really quick. Phil Schneider, a former government geologist with high-level clearance, claimed that he helped build the underground tunnels and saw the horror firsthand. He described vats filled with human parts, tanks with floating bodies, amber-colored liquid in rooms where mutilated people like us were stored, like for specimens and things like that, he said. One day during a routine work on the lower levels, a Black Beret security team encountered a group of Greys that wasn't supposed to be there. Now, how did they get in? This is supposed to be an underground facility, but they was there. And an intense fight broke out. Energy weapons was used. Now, listen, energy weapons were used. When you look at Phil Schneider's video and he started talking about, he pulled out his little pistola and they had energy weapons. Wouldn't that tell you enough right there? Remember I said it yesterday, just turn and go the other way. You know, here you are shooting, you know, this almost like bow and arrows, but they wasn't, you know, and these guys coming out with energy weapons that's zapping. And you saw the stuff once again on his chest and his buddies, how they were just smoking these people. And look at the picture in the far right corner bottom here. Those are actual pictures from these guys were crispy. Okay. These guys were, you know, these guys were smoked. You know how the whole street thing, or I'm gonna smoke you. These guys was actually smoked. And they wasn't playing. Those GREYS was not playing when they did this. One of the things about it, he was like, Lenny W. roasted. You got that right. and so when they broke out, Phil Schneider was wounded in his chest. And I'll put up the pictures again while I'm reading what happened to him so that you will see. So he was, there you go. Phil Schneider was wounded in the chest and his hand during the exchange. He later claimed that he was one of only 3 survivors out of the team of 60. The soldiers who was passed away was erased from official records. Their family were told that they lost their lives during a training mission or classified combat mission elsewhere. According to the records, they lied, and it was 66 people down here in this place and under U.S. command, and the cover-up was instant. Now, this would probably be considered an act of WAR, okay? Plain and simple, all right? And it gets a little darker as we keep going down to this from there. And again, I'm going to welcome you here. If you hadn't hit the like button, you know, tonight we got 120 people in here already. Let's hit that like button if you get a chance for station identification there. Now, after the incident, the base was sealed from U.S. personnel, and the control was ceded to the GREYS in exchange for continued technological assistance. Now we instrumented something called Project Zeus. I'm going to go through later on in the show, but not now. I'm going to talk about, let me scroll down. Come on, Ryder. Oh, we got a lot to talk about. Project Aquarius, Project Red Light Snowbird. We're going to talk about Project Pluto, Project Pounce, and I'm getting into Project Gabriel, Project Excalibur. We're going to be here a couple of hours tonight. So hopefully you in for a treat because we're going to go deep. Then we may even go just slightly longer because we're going to go into this right here, the most holy grail of books that we've been talking about. And we're going to do a whole open series on this coming up in the next week or so on this book here. And we'll get to that towards the end anyway. And so let me scroll all the way back to where we are, my notes and everything else. All right. So, and if you with me tonight, let me know. Put a 1. Did you down for the long night? We're going to go a little longer than an hour or so. And give me a 1 that you with me. I'll know to keep going. You know what I'm saying? All right. So listen, Project Zeus was initiated, and it was a desperate attempt to create weapon systems that could challenge alien beam weapons. Okay. When it came down to this, the Zeus weapon was directed. It was like what they call a particle beam, designed to pierce underground shielding and neutralize GREYS in hardened bunkers. It was profitable or portable, I should say. I'm sorry. And it could be operated in small tactical teams, allow infiltration missions inside alien zones is necessary. Now, could you imagine this? Or not could you, but do imagine while we're outside every day fighting traffic, or we're out here trying to figure things out, then we are dealing with, you know, or on the other side of this thing is people down underground in places dealing with some atrocious stuff, man, some stuff that are really going on. Thank you for the 10 people out of 120 with 1. So maybe the rest of you 90, 111 don't want to hear anything else about it, but that's okay. The 10, you know, thank y'all as we continue to go where we're going. All right. So anyway, Zeus was a directed particle beam, and it was designed to pierce the underground shielding. And it was, like I said, and they used it. But what happened was we gave up ground, the humans, because we had to. And then they built a particle beam weapons to take it back. So we moved back. we made a deal, so y'all can have it. And then ultimately we came back and said, all right, we're going to build a beam to go back and take this thing back. They weren't preparing for peace, and they were preparing for another fight. So on one hand, on the top, we go to work every day. We're going and we're underneath this world. There was a battlefront was happening, and it was ferocious battle when it came to this. Now, Zeus, there was over 13 bases that were included in this. It had escalated all across, zero oversight, joint operation with special species that just whacked out our people, man. It was bad. And once again, tell me again, anyone who was really in control. And that was the thing that I think that most people don't really think about it. Now, the organizational structure of Maja, this is something else that came in, included Project Sigma. I told you a little bit about Sigma yesterday or Monday. Project Garnet, which is what they call behavioral tracking, and Project Red Light, which is reverse engineering alien aircraft. Now, you should be now gathering in all the projects that I tell you we're going to be discussing later on tonight, that there is a lot of stuff happening right in front of our eyes. A little, hint, Project Aquarius was the overall umbrella, which all the other projects operated under. And then there was at least 13 known alien bases under U.S. territory with joint operation between MJ-12 and the GREYS. All right, so right there to let you know that we have a rich history, the United States government, with the GREYS in technological advancement. This is why when you start hearing about our military might and everything else, and an advancement of this, and I'm going to be one to tell you, when I was 20 years old and even older, I had a secret clearance. I actually just finally got debriefed 5 years ago, okay? And I've always had my clearance. I work for a defense contractor. I don't tell that story much because I wasn't supposed to. But let me tell you something, even at a young age, when I was doing this stuff way back then, and let me just give you this real quickly as a small detour. When you hear about all this stuff happening in all the other parts of the world, and the United States this is gonna happen, they're gonna do this, and people, let me just tell y'all something, and I'm gonna tell you the facts. There is not another country on the planet that has a more fierce, ferocious, technological, advanced, brutal system of power than the United States of America when it comes to military force. What you think you see in public is one thing, but what happens that we do have in the weaponry and the reverse engineering from these alien tech and all this stuff is why we go to other countries when they have a landing in Peru. We go over there and take it from them. When it's in Mexico, we go over there and take it. We as the country, the military, or the contractors. I don't care where it is. We go and get it. And now the other countries get there first because it's easy taking. They may hide it, but if we know about it, we're going over there and get it. Hardcore, no problem, because we're going to reverse engineer it and everything else. So just know that as you go down there, and people think that, now what we do fear is not us who has all of the weaponry that we have. The most biggest fear is the country of people that just only want one. That's where your fear comes in. You should, because they intend to use that one. You know what I'm saying? The rest of them are deterrents. But let me just continue. So I just want you to know, when you hear and what you see out there and all of this, there is not. Don't worry about none of that. All right. So now, the nature from the GREYS, it had to be presented as a defense against nuclear strike from USSR. This is what I was talking about yesterday when a guy, he was like, they built the NSA to listen to other people. Now, they use that for public presence, but the NSA was there for alien communications. That's why Hoover or Truman or Human or whatever put that in effect back in the 60s or whatever, 50s or 40s, whatever. But the NSA is all about communication, and it was intentionally for alien communication. And of course, to get public funding, it was because of World War II or whenever it was. So they do that all the time. So once again, they presented a defense against a nuclear strike from the USSR at the time, which was the Soviet Union. Now, the Soviet equivalent to Maja, M-A-J-I, used the same technique, the development of a weapon to protect their country from U.S. nuclear strike to obtain covert funding for the joint effort. So now we had countries working together, because that was a big fear. Because now you pick up the phone, and President Reagan said it. What would happen if we are no longer an existential threat to each other, but there's a threat from some unknown place? He was already speaking it back then, because they knew. Because if that's the case, we need to come together as a world, come together, right? And we needed to do this. This is why, once again, the UN controls Antarctica. And I've said it, and you all should look it up. No country, not even ours, anybody can go to Antarctica without permission. It surrounded everybody, every country, everybody who has a weapon has a base surrounding Antarctica for a reason. You go look it up. You will find that out as we begin to go on further here. Now, the threat from the GREYS is taken so seriously at that time by Maja that the President Reagan adamantly, refused any concessions to the SDI, and he continued to vigorously pursue its development and deployment. And remember, at that time, we had Star Wars. We had a whole lot of different stuff that was coming in play. And everything was like, we need to protect the sovereignty of the United States. But they've been knowing that there was a bigger threat out there than anything else, because once that power was showed that they have the power, and they have weaponry that was so advanced, that was a problem. And it should be a problem. This is why I'm always on the side of our armed forces and what they have to do and what they're up against and all these things, because we need them to have the best of the best at all times. So I don't care who is asking for that vote, sign off, give them the best tools that they need, period, because they're doing some things that none of us know about it while we sleep at night and wake up in the morning to walk in doing what we're doing. And I'm not just talking about when they're standing over here. We're talking about the stuff in the dark, all right, that's happening. All right, so once again, these opponents never knew its real intention for the purpose. So to accomplish the true objective of these SDI programs, and in these SAPs and special access programs and black money projects, they created another ultra secret project called Project Zeus. And we'll go into some details with that. Project Zeus was created under the umbrella of Maja and is charged with the real purpose of direction, management, deployment, and eventual deployment of SDI weapons systems. Now, when you think about the name, the mythical Greek god Zeus, only this time it will be, let me kind of go this. So when you start listening to the name of some of these special projects and Project Aquarius, Pluto, and all this stuff, I want you to begin to do your own research on symbolism. This is our baseline anyway of stuff that I'm heading toward in the future. Everything is symbolic, names, weaponry, the use of it, because it's all adapted from ancient civilization, ancient symbolism, and power, by the way. And so when they know what they're doing in naming this stuff. So just by me saying Project Zeus or the weapon Zeus, you should already have an imagination what type of weapon it could be, right? Or what type of source, or what is it trying to accomplish when it's fired, right? And because that's how they look at things. So once again, it will be an angry Zeus hurling laser. So let me go on and put that out there. And a particle beam lightning bolts into the heavens. So right there is what they do. And so you can kind of understand that for yourself, how you can go there and pretty much from there as well. Now, once again, Zeus was a hurling laser and a particle beam lightning bolts into what they call the heavens against the alien attack, or deflected by mirrors against secret alien bases on Earth. So once again, the bases are here, they've been here, blah, blah, blah. So all the talk about missile defense that we hear, it was never about Russia. It never was. It was about the GREYS, and Reagan knew it. Now, what I'm saying now, I'm taking you back in time, but it also can equate with the present. I'm taking you back in the 40s, the 50s. So you know how long this has been going on. So if you know when President Reagan was in president, you should know. But this is good for those of you who don't know our stellar history of all of this stuff and what has been happening and how long it's been happening, because it's important to start connecting the dots to know what's happening in the future. As I alluded to at the beginning of this commentary tonight, I talked about the abandonment of planet Earth. And I've been hitting on that all week. I hinted it all through Nibiru, and I just thought it would be a good idea to start bringing dots in together for you to understand what's all the theory. Why do we need underground bases? Why people are building bunkers? Why have they been doing underground cities? Why do you now look at it? It's a common thing. So this should start tying in some of the dots for you to understand what is happening in pretty much. Pantera said, wasn't even thought of during. Okay, so you wasn't even born during the Reagan era. Okay, so so let me take you back then. Reagan knew, and he kept going, even when Congress tried to stop him. Now, we've had this, we can all assume what happened to Kennedy and everyone else. It all supposedly, the rumor had to do with some type of UFO alien type stuff. And so those are things that we will look into. So let me take you back to that moment. In 1984, President Reagan, in a public address, established the tone and seriousness of his endeavor when he deliberately or inadvertently slipped remarks that the world may one day unite to fight a threat from outer space. This was followed by a series of subsequent remarks during later days of his term in office. If you remember this speech, go look it up. 1984, I was around. Of course, as you know, I am now 25 times 2 plus 5. So you'll figure that out by the time the end of the show. And if you do know what I just said, put it in the chat, and I can tell you, yes, that's me. But anyway, so once again, he made that public address, and he stood there and he said, one day we may unite to fight against the threat of outer space. And everybody was like, what? What did he just say? Because I remember I was in elementary school or whatever, junior high, and it was like, what did the president say? He said, yeah, we may have a threat from outer space, and we're going to have to come together. It was crazy, at that point. And you can see the speech on YouTube. You can go and do in some places, you can see it, but they don't cover it up enough because they just don't want. But what was he trying to warn us, though? What was he warning us about? Or was he just testing a public reaction to disclosure? Because the Condon report came out about that time where they said, don't tell us. They was already testing the temperature. Because if you remember, when the flying saucer in Roswell happened, they told everybody, hey, we got flying saucers. They're everywhere. Or not everywhere, but, it spread it like wildfire until 2 days, 3 days later. And they were like, cut that. We don't need nobody knowing that. But at first, the world was liberal to sharing that there was something from outer space. It was like a topic of conversation, right? And then somebody decided, no, we don't need to tell them this. We don't need to tell them this. Now, there was a rumor. Ooh, I'm closing my eyes before I tell you what I'm going to tell you. And I have a book that this information. Now, I'm going to tell you what this information is. I'm closing my eyes because you just hear me think out loud. There was a rumor that they was not gray, okay? There was supposed to be another shade of color in between, and they had a specific look. So they had a kind of conjunction between kind of our people shade and Chinese look. So that was more and more of the startling stuff. If you dig deeper enough, you're going to hear that truth that what started a lot of stuff, because they're like, wait a minute, these not. So the term GREYS came out, and then, of course, the myth of that. So, but we're going to stick with the known GREYS story. However, in a little bit, I will probably reveal to you where you can find, how you can gain access to things that you wouldn't normally see anywhere in this world. If I don't forget before we go, we got a lot to talk about tonight. You know how I'll just keep going, and I will keep going at. But yes, definitely, as Factory Polo says, yep. Yeah, that was a rumor that they were that. And that set everything in motion, and pretty much. And so I've had some people that share that from the military stance and everything else. All right. So, and that's not surprising, right? That we get all kinds of information. If you go back to the Dogon tribe, the Dagon priest, where that, the stuff, the Dagon god that the Vatican said that they worship or whatever, the fish god, which was the same as the Dogon tribe, which the confusion of Dagon, Dogon can cross, which had Sirius B, all that information, even before the Vatican, which obviously they met the same people before, so you can start connecting those dots stuff too. Now, some of these documents obtained by various researchers verified the fact that there were not alone in the universe, or we wasn't. Now, the additional information contained in this report, the notes, the comments, and then, some of the, and you know what, and some of the conclusions are based on intelligence information from other confidential sources. So let's dig into some of that. And once again, we're talking about these documents reveal, at the time it was called Above Top Secret, and the nature of the operation in Majestic 12. They also verified the scientific discovery of all time has been hidden from people of Earth, and that both communications and relationships with extraterrestrial alien beings had already been achieved. All right. And then that the radical new technology the GREYS possesses could alter human civilization overnight. So if you think that some of these companies, especially our defense contractors, just come up with this stuff that, technology, aircraft that almost now can be invisible a little bit, right? Just the stuff that we have, and if somebody sit there and just thought about it, you saw the movies. I'm a movie buff, so you saw the movie Terminator and the unintended consequences of the future and people playing with technology. You saw we are witnessing the AI thing, and if you remember the 2020, what was it? 2020 movie, not 2020, but the show. Well, you know what I'm saying? The whatever. And they had Sam Altman on there at the beginning. This was about a year and a half ago. And the lady said, hey, we're hearing that this AI could be a little dangerous. And what if it does? Would you shut it down if it's going to be a problem with humans? And you know what he said? He said, no, we might slow it down, but we will never shut it down. You get what I'm saying? Now, like I said, I'll get back on track, but this is a detour, but I'm just telling you about the technology. There is a video surfacing on social media. You can see it. In fact, there was a company that was testing alien technology or robot and AI technology, and the robot was sitting there and the people was there, and the thing went bananas. It had an attitude and started swinging, and it started punching, and they get up and running, and and they was trying to pull the plug on it, and it was swinging like a human because it was mad. Just the beginning. I know. I'm sorry for the detour. I don't like taking a lot of detours without getting back on track. But anyway, this isn't about secrecy. It's about control, and they could change the world overnight, but they won't. They won't take the technology for the best for us. So in 1980, as we moving up the clock here, Lieutenant General Danielle Graham, Department of Defense strategic analyst, stated, this is a quote, by the way. This is a quote from Lieutenant General Daniel Graham, Department of Defense strategic analyst. Okay. He says, quote, I quote, we need a bold new approach. We must stop competing with the GREYS in areas where we can't win and begin to compete where we have the advantage. People, I'm saying to you that this is, God, how can I say this and without evoking emotion? You will never hear the people that protect us say that we can't be protected. What does that do? It will cause a upstir in humanity, period, if you knew we could not protect ourselves if they were to decide to do this technology. Now, but we can't. We do have technology to defend ourselves. That's the whole premises. And we have advanced so, okay? And they know it. This is why that other movie showed that was a problem for them. Coming, knowing by the time they get here, we will be defensible. We can defend ourselves. So on one hand, we are advancing, and there's things out there that's 30 years ahead of where we at today that we don't know that's behind the system. The problem with it is there's no unification. You got to know this. See, when you hear about an alien or a UFO, so let me give you an example, especially all my years being in UFO or ufology. What happens is I'm going to go from East Coast to the West Coast, okay? And I'm going to take you on this quick journey of this. And I think the East Coast is, West Coast is California, East Coast is New York. Okay, all right. So let's say a UFO, an alien, is seen coming out of the water in Cali. The Coast Guard is going to see it, and then they're going to document it, and they're going to be blah, blah, blah. The same UFO, because it can fly from one side to the other really fast, gets up into the sky, and now it's being tracked by NASA, NSA, or the government, the Army, and it's flying, outrunning aircrafts like it ain't nothing, and could disable stuff. It then lands on the ground to take someone, and the same one was identified abducting someone. So the Army has its records on a sighting. The Coast Guard has a sighting. The Air Force has a sighting. The same one gets up and goes toward New York, and there's another agency. It wasn't until last year or a year ago, or either when Trump got in office, that we formed Arrow or one of these facilities so that there was a consolidation of information. And that was the problem, because everybody, the Navy, I forgot about them, they all will keep their own files. They all began to reverse engineer for their own weapons, even though they're under the United States umbrella. Well, you better believe they were not talking to each other. They have their tech. The Navy are Navy people, the Army are Army people, the whatever, the Marines or whoever. And it wasn't until we figured it out, right, that we got a problem. We got all these agencies who got contractors working for them, and we don't have no oversight. And if there was a problem, we don't know what you have, and you're the Navy. We don't know what you have, and you're the Army. We don't know what you have. And so because they knew that there was a bigger issue that was coming, right, that we needed to unify our own armed forces of information when it came down to this UFO disclosure. This is what you see now in congressional hearings. The problem, the congressmen over here, they won't tell them. They're not telling them. This black budget's not sharing this one. And they try to put it under one umbrella, and they still lie to one another, and they can put it back into the public sector and say your FOIA Act is not going to reveal the information, all because of what we're talking about now. And that is a problem. That's a problem for us as citizens, that there's no unification in all of that. When it comes down to those things. And so there is what the problem has been and always been. And so we got to change that over time, that they want. And once they begin to share tech, now don't get me wrong, when they go to go against an enemy, they all going to unify, but they're all going to whip out their own stuff and be like, damn, what you got? Mine bigger than yours. Oh, dang, what do you get that from? You know what I'm saying? And they're just going to surprise each other. Against the enemy, of course, and so it's not something against one another. It's just that, and this is why you should understand. And then I'll get back on track. Why I don't care who's running for office. I don't care, and don't let them sell you a bill of goods that I'm going to open up the files on some type of stuff if you elect me. I don't care who it is. I don't care for the next 20 years. Because the presidential office is 4 to 8 years. It is as temporary of office you got in any of our politics places, except for 2-year terms and everything else. But the general, he's there for 30 years. He's in the admirals, they're there for 40 years. That's why the military industrial complex run the sugar honey iced tea. You better believe. They know a new administration is going to be gone, and we ain't got to listen to him. We ain't got to hear that crap. I ain't got to tell him where. And so don't think for one lick that the person who we elected, whenever we do, no matter when, what year, whatever, what side of the fence, can get access to all of that stuff, because they don't even know. They don't have no power on some of that stuff. And you better believe that one. Unless they just know specifically, it ain't happening. All right. So back on point now. All right, so the cover story, we'll go back to this. They built weapons for space as well, and they called it science when they did this. Now, once again, the result was a book by General Graham entitled The High Frontier. So make sure you look that up. And the National Security Agency, NSA, funded the project Frontier, High Frontier. This project used some of the nation's best engineers and development scientists. Now, this book and the project was the red herring technique to sell the concept and proposal to Congress, scientists, and the defense and aerospace industry. Now, this goes on all the time because, as you remember on the Skinwalker Ranch thing, they hired Laskansky or whatever his name was to write a document thing together, present it to Congress to get the funding to for what's his name to give his friend who owned Bio, whatever his name was, his face Grant or whatever his name was, his Branson or whatever. And they do this. So they'll have somebody like this write a book and just to or a document or dossier or something so that they can get stuff approved. And that's just how it works when it comes down to it. They just need enough people are afraid of things and everything else. Now, of course, the cover story High Frontier is that the weapon is needed to defend against nuclear missile attack. The real story, of course, is that the weapon is being built to defend against an alien attack, and the American public will never be told because we can't tell people this stuff, right? It just makes sense. An alien attack in American public is just not going to work together, for the public. It just don't work together. But since the danger of the alien threat is real, they say, allegedly, the development of weapons continue whether or not Congress is willing to appropriate the funds or not. This is why you hear, Bigelow. There you go. Yeah, Bigelow. And this is why you hear, thank you, Factory. And this is why you hear they build everything like Noah's Ark. We fund it for one thing. They got enough, and that's that whole stand. Like, you don't think when you look up the budget that they spent $12,000 for a toilet, right? Or, $500 for a hammer, correct? I mean, people can see that. It's in public stuff, and people read it like, oh man, they spent $600 on screws. What do you think the extra money is going? You know what I'm saying? But we don't pay attention to that. We don't care, but they put it in public. I think if anybody scrutinized these things, we'll probably just start laughing at who is doing the math. You know what I'm saying? Who's doing the math? What, 15 hammers at $800 a hammer? What kind of hammer is this? But they do it and they pass it and we vote for it all the time. We just sign out for them because we don't care. They'll put a bill, just like when they did the funding when the first things came out. I forget what it was, but remember the $600 that they was giving everybody? Remember the $600? You get $600. But that was a 5-page document. And that's how I got discovered, by the way. I did a video and only had 100 views. 85 of them was mine. But the Discovery Channel saw it. It's on my channel. It's the first 1 or 2 videos I ever did. And it still don't have a lot of views. But when they saw it, it was like, hey, you're on point. And in that package of that 5,500 page package was a provision, because we don't read those pages. And it said that they was funding to capture a UFO. It was sitting right there. But everybody else voted because they promised to give everybody $600. Y'all remember, right? Everybody, they're going to give us $600. Vote for it. But in there, it was a little thing like, we want to capture an alien UFO. This is going to cost X amount of dollars. We don't read the fine print. Who does? And I mean, I click on stuff every day. Here's new policy change. Click. I'm going down on 26 pages when it said, all right, when you do this and ever we're coming for your left toe in about 20 years. I didn't see it, and yet we should pay attention to it. All right. So since the danger was real, and this is how they did it. Now, a special team was brought together charged with implication of the new Zeus weapon system. The team joined NSA, DIA, NRO, and the operation under the direction of Maja, the project under control of Nero, and it was called, the Black Program. Now, the contractors include many of the nation's largest aerospace companies when they did this. All right, so far, without my interruptions, you've learned a little bit about MJ-12's portrayal, the alien firefight in Dulce, and the creation of the beam weapons to fight back. But just when you really start looking at all this, man, I'm getting ready to give you a little more of the full playbook here, okay? And then, like I said, we're going to get into this alien interview, and then we'll talk about some of this other stuff as well. But I'm going to, let's give you a few names so you can work with. So these names here was never meant to be really, like spoken on a grand level and everything else, and that's cool. So I'm going to go through some of these projects, each one of them a little bit, give you a little tidbit of all of them, what they were here for, what they were doing. So you grasp the whole magnitude that is a lot of stuff they were doing and still do. And this is in the 50s, people. This is before some of you were even swimming down a canal to go up wherever you were going to be chosen to be where you are today. You know what I'm saying? You ain't even got to the system yet. All right. So that, and you'll get that one in a little bit. So let me go ahead. Let's read them line for line. First was Aquarius. Project Plato, originally established as a part of Project Sign. Remember, we talked about that one. In 1954, it was established as a diplomatic relations with the aliens. This project was successfully when it was mutually acceptable. The terms were agreed upon. The terms involved the exchange of technology for secrecy of the alien presence and non-interference in alien affairs. This project is controlled by a secret task force headquartered at the Los Alamos National Laboratories in New Mexico and is ongoing. Okay. So now let's go through a chronological event of different projects. So I'm going to bring them up and hopefully I'll hit your year of birth when we get there. So you'll be like, oh, shucks. All right. So now you'll feel included. So, but just remember NSA in direct contact with this thing since 19. All right. So let's bag up. All right. So that's right. We made a deal with technology in exchange for silence at Los Alamos, and it's still running. So Project Aquarius, Project Sigma. Now, what this thing does conducts electronic communications with extraterrestrials, part of an ongoing contact project run by and through NSA since the early in 1963, which led to the Holloman Air Force Base incident in April 25th, 1964. We hadn't talked about it, and so that may be something that we may talk about what happened there as well. The NSA in direct contact in 1963 and the Holloman landing. It wasn't a rumor. It was part of the plan. So go look up the Holloman landing. This is give you some little stuff. Write it down. Just kind of do your own research there. It's the Air Force Base. This was in April 25th, 1965. I'm not going to get into it deeply at all because I want you to get your curiosity to continue to move forward on, what you're doing and whatever's happening. Okay. So let's continue down that. All right. So the next thing was once they, Aquarius, then Project Garnet closed down, supposedly on completion of its studies. Project Garnet's purpose was to investigate extraterrestrial influence on human affairs and evolution. And what you're going to see is a pattern. Every time they get so far, they close it down. And what they do is, this is the way they can compartmentalize the situations to keep one person from knowing too much, being part of it for the next 20, 30 years or whatever it may be. They're able to continue to move these things down the pipeline and evolve into other stuff. And man, they can keep the black budget stuff moving around. Ain't nobody going to find it. You will never find it, right? And even people who was in office 3 years ago who's no longer there don't know anything else either when it comes down to this. So they studied how aliens influence human evolution, Project Garnet. And people, let me say this again. I just gave you something, a little small nugget there that should just make your mind just wonder. We had a Project Garnet, and like I said, I want you to investigate it for yourself so that there's no discrepancies of what we're going to, because it is going to bend your reality of biblical senses if you find the information on it. But however, there's some things that I'll say a little later too. So stick around for that. They studied how aliens influence human evolution. And I would like to repeat that for you. And I want you to understand what I'm saying. For those of you who think I'm talking, but I'm saying something. I'm just saying something that a lot of people don't want to say. They study how I'm using the word how. I'm going to break that down. Alien influence, human, and I'm going to use the word evolution. So that alone should give you enough. And what happened after that, and what they did find, and what was suddenly, they shut it down. They shut it down from what they found because they knew this is something we don't need to talk about. All right, so all of a sudden we have Aquarius, and I hope you got my candor of what I was trying to say, even though I could, oh yeah, but I'm not. But you get what I'm saying. Because it will tar with some people Sunday, this coming Sunday at 11 a.m. in whatever song that they're going to be playing. Aquarius Project Red Light. Originally established in 1954, the mission of Project Red Light was to test fly recovered alien craft. This project carried out at Area 51, Groom Lake. You've heard all those rumors. In nearby Area S4, Bob, what's the name? Lazar talks about that, and was postponed after every attempt resulted in destruction of the craft and the death, allegedly, of the people that was flying it. Project Red Light was reassumed in 1972. Now I am here on Earth. I have made it down the canal. I've been brought in, and my purpose began. So in 1972, I'm here. 2 years before that, though, and has since been partially successful. So UFO sightings of craft are common by black helicopters in Project Red Light Assist. This project is ongoing in Nevada and everything else. This is why, like the TR-3B, all of these things that people see, a lot of these UFO crafts are man-made. A lot of them are. All right, I'm not saying all of them. So let me give you the extension. Anything that's flying around in our skies that we do not know what it is, repeat after me. Anything flying around that we do not know what it is a unidentified flying object, okay? Not every unidentified flying object is an alien craft, okay? But I want you to understand this. All aliens do fly unidentified flying objects. Okay, so let's go with that. All right, so let's continue down where we're going with this. Every pilot didn't make it. The ship, just came apart. Yet they kept flying them anyway. And those black helicopters, they were not surveillance, they were escorts. This is why you see those in a lot of photos and a lot of the famous pictures and everything else. Then that led us to Project Snowbird, originally established in 1954, okay? Its mission was to develop, using conventional technology, a flying saucer type craft from the public. If you go and Google, you'll see a lot of saucer aircraft that was being done back then, but they still had propellers, but they looked like flying saucers and everything else. This project was successful when a craft was built and flown in front of the press. This project was used to explain UFO sightings and divert public attention from Project Red Light. So once again, they created this misdirection on purpose to do all those things, and pretty much. All right, so while Red Light was real, Snowbird was to cover a show for the press to keep eyes off real ships. Then they moved us to Project Pluto. Now, Project Pluto was established to evaluate all UFOs and IAC information pertaining to alien space visitors now, okay? Not craft. We're talking about people that got out. We're talking about people that landed and got out the ship, okay? Visitors. This project is ongoing. Pluto is a pro word for pounce. This is why they jump on these things, okay? So I'm giving you this. Now, the evaluation project of this is still active today. And Pluto isn't just a name, it's the code word for recovery action. All right, I just said it. Maybe tomorrow they knock on this door. Why are you telling them that? Well, okay, everybody who's in ufology know enough. We got it. And I'll share with some stuff with you in a few minutes. And if somebody reminds me to do so. as we conclude this, and then we'll get into the alien interview book, the book that we're going to talk about. And then I'll show you some other stuff too. So then we're talking about Project Pounce, originally known as Project Moon Dust. This project was formed to recover all downed craft and aliens and provided cover stories and operation to amass the true endeavor when necessary. Covers which have been used, crashed experimental craft, construction, mining, etc. This project has also been successful and continues to today. All right. Moon Dust, Pounce, Pluto, all of them was working to recover ships and lie about it on the front page. And the thing is, how many crashes was really retrieved? They said it was hundreds. Remember this guy, the whistleblower? He said it was hundreds of them. So we're being visited all the time. But you've seen the movies. You've seen Wayland Enterprises, Alien versus Predator. Whoever get there first get to claim it. This is why multinational corporations, think about this for a minute. Multinational corporations build our tech. I want you to know this. So, for example, if you and I own a bioweapons company and we have got a recovered craft given to us by the Navy who wants to oversee it, but it's our project so that everybody can't submit a FOIA act to the government and say, tell us what you got. We can't do it from a private company, but they still get to oversee it. They get to say, you get to keep it. We're not only going to give you the money. Y'all hear that? We're going to give you the aircraft that we got, that we found, with whatever's in it. We're also going to approve funding for you to break it down, to dissect it. And since the government is for the people, you get to keep the technology and file patents, the defense company, and become billionaires. You, your family, friends, buddies, military buddies there. Y'all get from the public's money. We're going to put it over here. You get to do this. And you get to keep the technology. But here's the twist. Because you have the technology and you sold us, the people, the government, weapon A, you get to create weapon B and C and D that you had not told the people. This is why people are talking about the deep states and the different stuff, because and remember, there was a military person, this is a little detour, that testified during the first congressional hearings last year, a year ago, and he told Dr. Greer too, that when he went out into the jungle, y'all remember this, right? He said that they had top arsenal, that this military group. But when they ran into some non-military people who were contractors, he said they had weapons that will blow the military away, so to speak. Technological advance, craft, machinery. They had devices that scanned them, that knew who they were. He was like, and they were like Navy SEAL swimming ducks out in the jungle. And why not? Because these people are the one building them. And if you built it, you would probably make an advance next, whatever. This is why the contractors, the multinational corporations are so powerful, because they're building next generation stuff off our money, though. They get our money to do it, own it, sell it, and everything else. And so I'm just putting you some pieces together so that you hear this, all right? And I know maybe y'all don't want to hear stuff like that. Maybe y'all don't even care. And a lot of people don't tell you, they don't connect these dots all together. And some do, but I'm just one of the ones it's always, I've been fascinated about it. So why not do that, when it comes down to this? All right. So Project Gabriel came into place. Now just keep thinking these names. Pluto. Now we got Gabriel. What was the known for Gabriel? This project was tasked with developing a low frequency pulse sound generator. And when it was determined that the alien weapons and craft would be vulnerable to this weapon, it is questionable whether this project exists today. People don't know. And it was derived from technology captured from Germany during World War II. And intelligence sources also verified its previous existence, but cannot verify whether it's ongoing or has been terminated. And I will tell you, It better not be terminated. It better not. I don't care. Make it, build it. You get what I'm saying? I've showed some podcasts in the day. I ain't going to tell you which one it was, and they flagged me for it, but I showed some pictures of that thing. This was last year when I thought I was on to a good start. I was like, and I went through this whole thing, but I think one of them is still there. You have to go find the video. But I showed I showed it. I had a picture of it, but the thing about it is we need this stuff though. Because now it goes back to the story of 1947 or some of these other things that these crashes was caused by us. We brought some of these craft down. We hit them with certain things and brought them down. And so these are things that is happening when it comes down to this. A sound weapon to bring down alien ships built with the tech taken from the Nazis' Germany. Now, it's very important for you to know. Yes, Gabriel has a horn, and it sounds like a wave weapon. Now you get it where I'm going, right? When I keep telling y'all, when you hear me name it, that should give you an indication of what type of weapon it possibly is. You get what I'm saying? Yes, so Gabriel, if you find the documents, it does look like a horn device. And that exactly, Dr. Strange, what it is. All right, so the thing about this is this. When you start thinking that how close we all could be speaking German right now, okay? Because remember, they had already was making the first anti-gravity spaceship from the Bale, if you remember, Hitler and Germany or whatever. They were just about to tie a weapon on this thing. And when they would have did that, it was a done deal for everyone else. They had it, and you got to remember, one of them burned. All of NASA were German scientists. Our NASA was evolved from German scientists. We gave them in Project Paperclip, I think, an amenity. When we brought down that wall, we brought them all over here. He was on his way. He knew that guy with the SWAT sticker. He knew he had already had the interactions. He was making a deal. He was working with them in a whole 9 yards. We was that close that we would all be speaking German right about now. All right. And so it wasn't just about that wall. You better believe it. So I do think our historic people for the aggressive nature that they pose, because obviously it worked out in our favor when it comes down to that. All right, so as we continue, this next one is my favorite. I just like the name. All right, so Gabriel, this project, of course, was tasked with that, and it was questionable whether it still exists. However, a sound weapon to bring down these ships, I still think personally, why not? Why quit it? But Project Excalibur was established to develop a weapon which could destroy the alien underground bases and any future underground bases where alien might construct. So think about Excalibur. Excalibur was the sword that was stuck in the ground. It went through the cement, right? King Arthur, if you remember. So Excalibur was established to develop a weapon which could destroy aliens' underground bases based on any future stuff from there. And it could be a missile. Think about what you've been hearing lately. Capable of penetrating 1,000 meters of tougher, hard-packed soil, such as the found in New Mexico, with no operational damage. Missile apogee that is not to exceed 30,000 feet, 30,000 pounds. Bonds, you hear, AGL. Impact must not deviate excess of 50 meters from the designated target. The device is designed to carry a 1 megaton nuclear warhead. This project is ongoing. Why wouldn't you not believe that? We just heard about it in the news. They talked about it. They tested it. They wanted to test it. They tested for no reason. They didn't get congressional hearing to test that bad boy. They went on there and tested it. And now one side is saying, oh, it didn't work. And the other one said, oh, it worked in clean house. We were able to get through the dirt. Y'all see where I'm going with this? This is why I started putting this stuff together this week, because all this stuff that you're hearing is alien tech, people. And we got it because we are the ones who've been harnessing it, taking it from everyone else. That's why we don't fear everyone, and you shouldn't. We don't have that problem. We didn't got that problem. That's why everybody's mad at this country, right? When it comes down to the ferocious tenacity of okay, that's my grammar box. You already got it, but you got what I'm saying. So just think about it from there. and as we continue to go. All right, so once again, a 1 megaton nuke that to crack alien bunkers. Still in development, still hidden, and still aimed at something or someone. And we are, like I said, they never used them before. Those B2s was like $1 billion each, or $2 or $3 billion. Remember, we ain't never used them, and they've been parked in hangars and spend gazillion dollars to make sure they stay sleek and all. So when they was like, man, we get a chance to use these things, let's come up with any kind of excuse we can. We need to test it and send a message that we got this and we can do it, and we can come in and come out. You don't even know it, and we can get you way down there. So this stuff came from reverse engineering, and we need to know its work, because you can't use it here. You can't use it here. All right. So you got to do it somewhere else. All right. So I'm going to leave you with that. And you know the names, you know the cover stories, but we're going to probably talk about some of the other stuff on the next show, but we're getting ready to go further into this show, though. And I'm going to put this iPad down. And I just want you to kind of know that this is how things roll. You get what I'm saying? And pretty much. And so let me know if you're willing to go further, because we can go for another hour. I got a lot more stuff tonight, and I just know that when I go to my dentist appointment tomorrow, it just may be a moment he's going to say, we need to do this to your mouth, and you won't be talking for the next day or two. And it's possible. I'm just hoping that that's not the deal, but it's definitely possible. And so there we go with that. All right, so we can keep going a little bit. I'm going to keep going. All right, let me get some water and let's roll. Okay, so before I go any further, I'm going to share. Let me see if I can share my screen first. If I can share my screen. Let me see if that'll work. Let me see. Oh, that is so cool. All right, there we go. Let's do a screen presentation. Share screen. Window. Okay, I can. All right, so I'm going to share something with you. Only a few of you. And let me know if y'all can see this screen a little bit. It's small, but you can see it, right? In here there's about 6 people throughout a whole audience that I have teamed up with that are tomorrow's truth speakers that I've shared this information. A few shows I've showed y'all this little disc where there's information you won't find anywhere else, because there was a few of us, and I gave you my background a little subtly and everything else. All right. So let me show you something. There's 4 file folders here. 3 folders, I'm sorry. There's an audio, there's books, and there's videos. In here, let me open. Oh, I'm sorry, my bad. All right, I got to do it over here. All right, so in here, you see these file folders, okay? And in these file folders is over 19,000 audio files of things that you won't not hear about, and me being connected to where I'm being connected to and everything else. It is impossible for the group of us to go through all of this and to find hidden information and things that's in here, because nobody can go through 19 audios, okay? So as you can see, this is just audio. It's all organized and everything else. And if there's anybody in there you want to know something, you just let me know and I'll click it in there. And whoever compiled this was monitoring everyone. I'm just letting you know. So that's let you know. If you got some people in here, then that's great. And here is books. All right, books. 20,000 books, ebooks on everything you can think of out there, everybody. Even files that, for example, stuff that you won't find anywhere else. And I'm gonna give you a taste of something real quick. I'm just gonna click on. All right, let's go with Bohemian Grove. Y'all already know about that. Bilderberg documents. And I shouldn't be showing y'all this. These are all photos you won't find anywhere else that they took at that secret Bohemian Grove. So I have access, and we got some major connections when it comes down to, this is just Bohemian Grove, people. These are, stuff that you won't see anywhere else. I'm just sharing it with you. 9/11, oh my God, there's some stuff in here that you will not, from the book side, but we go to the video side. Bilderberg documents, there's just hidden stuff in here pretty much. I have everything, and you're talking 20, 30,000. My favorites is the 4,000, let me click that, videos. The 4,000 videos that is in here that we have. Even when I go to David Icke or I go to Jordan Maxwell 30, so this is things that you will never see anywhere else. So these are clips and everything else. All right. I have put together a circle. There's about 5 or 6 people in our entire world. And I can only tell a story how I got a hold to it and why I am showing it to you. So let me stop the screen and continue. So we're getting to this book. All right. So it's, and let me close this out real quick here. And so I could do what I'm doing here. All right. So I keep this information in here. This is high dollar, waterproof. I got an extra copy in my safe deposit box. I keep one. And like I said, there's other people that we got together because it was very costly in doing it. We need some more researchers. Just before I even go any further, let me put some on the screen for you. If you are interested in accessing this stuff, before you even get with me, this is the cost for the drive. It needs 2 terabytes. You want this particular SSD, rugged, heat, water, because you do not want to put nothing like this on something cheap that breaks down with life-changing information. Like I said, it will take, I don't have enough lifetime, you don't have enough lifetime to go through 19,000 ebooks, 20,000 audio files and listen to stuff that you heard, stuff that was striped from here or there, stuff that's out of circulation, videos and everything. Every now I find some of the most craziest stuff. In fact, I was trying to load stuff like that in our thing, and it was just so difficult because it's just so much information. Every time somebody called me, you've heard of this? I go, yep, and pretty much. So my email is contact@whythebigsecret.com. That's the email address. You saw what the disk drive costs. We're going to start there. If you are into the world of information research and you want to agree that if you find something out of this world, which you will, that you share it, and I share it with the others and say, hey, there's something else, because we all can't find everything at the same time. If y'all know Jen, which is my top researcher and advocate, hell, and she knows a lot. And when she got a hold, she was like, you got to be kidding. I thought you was just saying, you get what I'm saying? It's just crazy. So let you know that maybe 4 or 5, 3 more people. It'll be a contribution a little bit, but you at least got to know you're going to be spending that for that drive, and you will order it from Amazon and you will send it to me to my address. And then it takes 2 days because 2 terabytes of stuff. It just frees my computer transferring that stuff all day. Contact@whythebigsecret.com. Put your telephone number. If you do not put your telephone number, tell me I'm interested, I'm not going to respond. I'm just not. That tells me already I don't need to be talking to you. All right. And I get that now. People email, they don't put no contact. Or now if this email is just a general email, that's cool. I'm just saying. But sometimes people say stuff and they want some communication. And I'm like, all my emails got my signature. I give people my personal number because I'm an investigator. That's what I do. So if you want to communicate, let's talk, because I can hear it better, right? But anyway, if you are one of those people, then contact me. Maybe you want to start your own podcast. Maybe you want to do your own secret channels. It's whatever. But there are some things in here you better not put out. I'm just telling you now. And when we do talk about it, I will tell you, you're going to know. You don't put that out. Keep it for your children. Keep it for your archives. Put it up somewhere. You don't put it out. You just don't. Why would you? All right. So let's get into the book that I was talking about, the Holy Grail of books. All right. We don't talk about this enough. It's called The Alien Interview. I alluded to this all week. This has kind of an unknown stuff, but this is the study edition. So you want to make sure you can find it on Amazon, but there is a study edition. And this one is going to talk, when you finish this, you are in a whole nother world about what's going on. We normally didn't talk about this a lot over the last 3 or 4 years because it was the basis of a lot of big time people's conversations and everything. It may pop up every now and then because somebody, but most of the experienced people wouldn't do it. I done moved on a lot from the UFO stuff, so I don't mind. I don't care. I'm alienated sometime anyway because of me being a Black person in this business. So if y'all probably already heard my experiences and if you knew me personally, you will know the treatment that I got being African-American in ufology. Oh my God. Yes, real stuff. All right. So this one here has the alien that was captured. The lady was the one that the alien began to trust, and she started taking notes. And when she retired or whatever, she sent this to a reporter. He published it. And this is really to get, it talks about the yellow book. It talks about that one thing that they put on this planet for us. It talks about businesses and corporations and other worldly stuff that this alien was telling. It talked about us, who created us, what the problem is, everything. This is by far. Now, if you're in our uncensored area, no matter if you on whatever plan, if you're on a $5 contribution or whatever, I loaded it up. You don't have to go spend the money if you just want to read it. But if you want the physical copy, go to Amazon. But if not, it is there right now. Put it right before the show, and we're going to discuss it. And so if you do want it, and you like the PDF, or you probably can find it, just Google. But I put a different parts in there. It is a cool thing. So let's go over some of this stuff, and so that and you go find it. But the study edition is so cool because it has at the top what the alien was talking about, but also in the footnotes, the researcher breaks it down. And man, does he go deep when he talks about this, the Great Mound, or all of this stuff. I don't even know where to begin, but this is one of the best things out there. And you can support the writer and buy the actual book. So I will tell you to do so for the physical copy. And if you want to wet your beak, you can do the other stuff, and pretty much. All right, so let's go into some of this. If y'all willing and you're still with me, put a 1 in the chat that you're still with me, and we're going to go over some of it if you want to. So I'll wait for some responses, and we can continue to go. All right, we got a few. We got one. All right. We got 2. All right. 3. That's good. So 3 people listening. And if you hadn't had a chance, I want you to like the video. Now, in the first part of this, and like I said, we'll go deeper all next week. And then hopefully if you get your book, you can follow along when we do this and pretty much. But so the alien name is Ariel. All right. And Ariel, not because she's a female or whatever, because at that point, I don't think they even had any genital stuff or whatever. I think I'm not for sure. But it goes through pretty much. But so in here, they was talking about in the 1947s that the past 60 years since the alleged Roswell, there have been 10, listen to what I'm about to say. During the last 60 years since the alleged Roswell crash, there have been tens of thousands of reported UFO sightings. The global hysteria has emerged from the evidence, which presumed to be extraterrestrial phenomena. And of course, she was saying, my first thought when I received this package of the documents, this is the author from Mrs. McElroy, that this was just another set of Majestic 12. Well, boy, was he wrong. I mean, this book will keep you up. But once again, let me see if I just change. I mean, it talks about the religion, the control. The alien tells everything. How do we get here? What's going on? Formulas, just the whole 9 yards. And it ain't talking about no Anunnaki either. It's part of the deal. You know what I'm saying? It's part of the deal. Julie, the name of the book is, I can't type and do all that at the same time, but it's Lawrence Fisher. But anyway, if you go right now, Julie, if you can go into the Patreon, look in there, I posted it, the cover and everything. And then if you could type all that information up for everybody, that'll be good. Because I put a PDF copy, Google Drive link, and everything else there. In fact, let me do it like this. Y'all hang on a minute. Let's do it like this. One moment. Let's do it. Do it. Do it, Roger. Do it. Roderick or whatever. All right, so let's do it like this. All right. I got even one better for y'all. All right, so I got to do it. I'm going to do this. All right, so I just put the Google Drive link so y'all don't have to go into the Patreon. There you go, right there. All right, so get it before I take it down. All of you, there is a Google Drive link that's going to download a copy of this, okay? It's right there in the chat. Thank you. Maybe y'all super chat or something and just say thank you. And you don't have to. Just you being here is good enough. But anyway, we're going to be going over this all next week in some areas, so that way we can do it together, you know, and put some stuff out there. And she did, but not all. She's probably way behind it. All right, so. But anyway, again, this thing talks about the ISBEs. So what she did was the alien said there was two different types of GREYS. They have the ISBEs on Earth are here because they are violently opposed to the totalitarian governments. Okay, so when we start thinking about governments and all that, supposedly the aliens, this stuff happens in other worlds, in other countries. That's why the religions and all this stuff that we have that's posed on us came from other places. The control mechanisms came from everywhere else. And so there are good aliens and bad ones out there, but she was saying that there was some that was against what's going on. And it all talked about the German totalitarian state was Earth similar to the old empire. She tells a story about the old empire, new empire, which is going to correlate with what we see today in some of our areas of politics, and how there's a fight between the two. And it's been going on before time. And so there's something that you want to, think about as well when it comes down to it. And man, I tell you this again, it's some great stuff. The social psychological tactics that they do. She was talking about one of the most notable proponents of such theories is social psychologist is from Philip Zimbardo, former president, and he talks about mind control is the process in which individual collective freedom of choice and action is compromised by agencies, and to modify, distort perception and motivation, affect cognitive and behavioral outcomes, and is neither magical or mystical, but the process involves a set of basic sociological principles. Now, the alien talks about this. We see this happening today with all of our devices. So once again, when we think about technology is where we are, then you think about that it's all done on purpose. So while we're using it to connect to one another, we probably need to go back to straws in a can and a rope and just talk and pigeons and stuff, right? And talk to people through pigeons and everything else. But those are things that they would go. So I'm going to try to find something pretty cool real quick that we'll go through in here. That is just, this whole thing is profound. But I will say this though. Okay, listen, it's good. So they asked the alien some questions. Listen to the answers here. One of the questions was, how long would it take your people to locate you here? So the lady was saying, if they're going to be looking for you, how long did it take for them to find you? And then she says, unknown. This is what the alien says. Now, when I get to the third four questions, it's going to trip you out. She says, how long would it take your people to travel here to rescue you? The alien said minutes or hours because they're traveling, whatever. The question, and remember, she was surrounded by all these government officials, and the alien only would talk to this lady after about a year or so because it got comfortable. Ariel, right? Now she says, how can we make them understand that we do not intend to harm you? The alien said, intentions are clear. I can see it in your mind, images and feelings. Now, I'm telling you, this is about the realest. We didn't ever put this out because we didn't want people to really know what was really happening. And we did, but we didn't think everybody can. But this was the true one. And it got leaked out. They put it into this book. That's why they don't advertise it that much, but you got it. But this is on page 71. So the alien says, your intentions are clear. And, we see your mind. We see images. Now, the other question was, if you're not a biological entity, why do you refer to yourself as feminine? The alien answered, I am creator, mother, and source. Man, I'm telling you, the alien says, I am creator, mother, and source. Why do we hear that in the conscious of the Most High, or all of this? And I'm saying to you that this stuff will begin to tie, and it's going to mess some people up on Sundays. Well, I'm not going to go too far in this. And let me see what some more. That's why they call it the alien interview. But they had a different language barrier. This one was pretty cool. And this is from the official Roswell Army transcript. So they put it in. It's the official transcript. And the question says, can you read or write any Earth languages? And the alien said no. And the question was, do you understand numbers or mathematics? Listen to the answer. Yes, I am an officer, pilot, and engineer. And then the lady asked the alien, can you write or draw symbols or pictures that we may be able to translate into our own language? And the alien says, uncertain. Then the question was, are there any other signs or means of communications you can use to help us understand your thoughts more clearly? Alien said, no, there ain't no way y'all can go that far. It doesn't matter. I mean, we're just way above the game. Y'all ain't even there yet. Let me go back to some other questions here. It says, and there was a time that the alien stopped talking to them for a while. And she asked, why have you stopped communicating? The alien said, no, I didn't stop. She says, others hidden and covered secret fear. The alien cannot communicate with them because they were afraid of her and do not trust her. See, because she could read their minds, so it wasn't no need for her to communicate. The alien was like, I can read your mind. I know y'all afraid, so I'm not going to play with y'all on that. You know what I'm saying? I know that y'all are afraid. You get what I'm saying? And so I'm not going to play with y'all on that information. you get what I'm saying? They're like, I'm not doing that. Let's go. And once again, this thing is so good. Let's go through some more questions and answers that the alien was saying. She says, and they asked her, how does your spaceship fly? The alien, or Ariel, I'm going to give her a name. Ariel replied, it is controlled through mind and responds to thought. Remember, we've been working on that technology. And remember back in the day, remember I told y'all the first evolution of humans were able to communicate via thought and process, moving things. We've always had that ability, but over the years they've had taken it, stripped us down through medication, foods, bringing all the lower conscious thoughts and all those things. So it was there, and all that. So she also says, and then the alien said, mind or thought command are the only English language words I can think or to describe the thought. She said their bodies, and I think the spacecraft are connected directly to them, to some kind of electronic in whatever systems that are controlled through thought. The other question was, how do your people communicate with each other? And the alien said, through mind, through thoughts. The words, minds, and thoughts combined together are the closest English language. So there was another question. Do you have a written language or symbols to communicate? She said, yes. And the question was, what planet are you from? Now, do y'all want me to answer what she said? She asked that alien, What planet are you from? Do you want to hear the answer that the alien? I'm telling you, this is why we never put this out here, because we knew it came from Roswell. They wrote about it. It's one of the undersold books out there. And I think it's just time that people can handle the information that's in here, because it is real. It came from that. But do you want to know the answer that this alien said? Of course you do, because I want to tell you anyway. I'm petty like that. She said, they said, what planet are you from? And the alien said, listen, the home, the birthplace world of the domain. Since I'm not an astronomer, I have no way of thinking in terms of stars, galaxy, and constellations, the directions in space. The impression I received was a planet, and so she started putting it in that person's head, and pretty much, she said, the birthplace of the world domain, so it was somewhere else. She said, will your government and representative meet with our leaders? And she said, no. She said, what are the intentions concerning Earth? She said, listen, all right, here's why. Remember I told you how they're not here to do some things, but listen to why they do have a problem with some of the stuff. What are your intentions concerning Earth? She said, to preserve, to protect property of the domain. Earth belongs to someone else. This planet is not ours. Someone else owns the planet, and this is why this is a project planet, and this is why there is a fight. Now, in the Bible, they talk about the heavens, and there was a fight of the heaven, the angels fight over the earthlings. That is what the stories are about, people, when you come down to it. There was the old rule and the new rule. She was talking about that, and it still goes on today. We turn it biblically to angels and fighting and all this stuff. I'm just telling you. All right. So she also says, what you learned about Earth governments and military. So she said, what have you learned? Listen to this. So she asked the alien, what, you know what? I would love to get my alien head and set it right here so you know. But anyway, she says, what have you learned about Earth governments and military installation? And the alien said, poor, small, destroy planet. And she said, why haven't your people made Earth existence known to the people of Earth? Why haven't your people made your existence known to the people of Earth? She says, watch, observe, no contact. That is crazy to the truth. That everything in historic talks about the watchers. It talks about how we are being watched. See, a lot of our symbolism and stuff has been twisted to a point to where we look at it and think of it a different way. But when you start coming back to what is happening, it's a different story. So she says that they watch and they observe, and they have a rule, no contact. And she says, how is your people visiting Earth previously? And the alien Ariel said, periodic, repeating observation. So you got to remember, the alien is not trying to speak, hey, man, I went down the street to, 202 and Butterbeans and blah, 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 because they don't speak like that. They speak more or less like the other scenario, right? So it's a different story when it comes down to, those things. And Judah, thank you for the love offering. I want to, oops, my bad. Okay. But anyway, but if you are finding value and you want to, we have a Cash App or something. Let me put it across the screen, because this is a community funded show. If you find it any value, I would love to receive some love from you. That would be good. All right. So listen. So she says, she said, how long have you been known about Earth? Now, sit down for this one. She asked, Matilda asked the alien. Now you got to remember, this alien is in observation with government officials. They have it, in the glass. So they have it surrounded, captured, or whatever, and it's just sitting there this whole time. And listen to what this answer says. This is why they don't put this stuff out there. So she says, how long have you been known about humans? And the alien said, she said, how long have you known about Earth? And the alien answered, long before humans. Whoa. You get that? She said, how long have you known about Earth? Long before y'all got here. You get what I'm saying? Long before we got here. So this is why when you go back and look at the genetic theories of the DNA and how we've changed and things, you got to understand there's a lot of truth in things that they don't tell us. Okay. Now, she also says, what do you think about the history of civilization on Earth? And the answer was small interest, attention, small time. Like, we don't give a crap about that. We don't care. And then she said, can you describe your home world to us? So Matilda asked the alien, and the alien is giving like basic answers that can communicate. Because in the beginning of the book, you're going to understand that she didn't know our language. So they gave the alien a bunch of some basic skill books. And it quickly, within days, like learned the whole human civilization languages. So it could talk, because at first it didn't know. So you're going to hear that in the story pretty much. So she says, can you describe your home world to us? She said, a place of civilization, culture, history, large planet, wealth, resources, always, order, power, knowledge, wisdom, 2 stars, 3 moons. Where have we heard that before? So she says they come from a place of civilization, culture, history, large planet, wealth, resources, always, and order, power, knowledge, wisdom, then 2 stars. And she asked, Matilda said, what is the state of development of your civilization? And the alien said this. Listen to this. Now, we all hear how long Earth been here. She said ancient. The alien said ancient. So the question was, what is the state of development of your civilization? She said ancient. Trillions of years, always above all others, plan, schedule, process, when, high goals, ideas. Ain't that something? Now, she asked her, what do you think about, do you believe in God? This is where I was like, okay. She asked the alien, do you believe in God? All right. So anyway, if you find value in the show tonight, it's 185 of you in here. Hit the like button for me at least, please. And take time to do that. And it's free. It doesn't cost you anything to do that. It just sets the algorithm that you just might like what I'm saying. So let me give you because it's a study guide. They says I'm going to give you a comparison to trillions to a million, because it says it in here. 1,000 trillion is 1 million. 1,000 million is 1 billion. Okay. 1,000 billion is 1 trillion. She said trillions of years. This is why we have stuff, ancient civilizations and things that was here, they're gone, come back here, caveman, the Neanderthal man, all these different type of humans. So it is a true possibility when that Nibiru comes back to do a reset, which we all won't be here. We won't. They're going to start over. Maybe there will be some new stuff, except for the humans who said we're going to be under the ground for this, right? Because they know it's happening. They know it's happening. And so once again, that is something. So we're reading from the alien interview. For those of you who want to know, this has been one of the biggest secrets out there, because it was one of the truest documents that came out of Roswell, that even some ufologists and people felt that, hey, it will mess with people's spirituality, religion, all of this stuff, but they knew it and they leaked it and they kept it under wraps. But anyway, once again, if you're just joining us, I'm going to put the link back in here again. I just put my personal Google Drive link right there in the description. Download it, download the PDF, or support the author and go buy the book. You're going to really want a hard copy, so go to Amazon, buy it. There's 2 versions. Make sure you get the study edition, because he put footnotes of what the meanings of everything at the bottom. He said, do you believe in God? I'm pausing for station identification, because the alien said, we think it is. May it continue always. Woo! Do you believe in God? The alien said, we think it is. make it continue. And then all these are periods. We think period. It is period. Make it continue period. Always period. David Icke always says that I'm all that I am, have been, or ever can be. All there is, I'm all there is, has been, and ever can be. So the question of it was, what type of society do you have? They said order, power, future always, control, and grow. You know what I'm saying? It is just, once again, it goes against what we see is happening here. And it's kind of weird. She said, are there other intelligent life forms besides yourself in the universe? Now, listen to this answer. Are there other intelligent life forms besides yourself in the universe, is what Matilda asked Ariel. Ariel replied, we are greatest. No, she said, everywhere, period. We are greatest / highest of all, period. So, man. So a personal note from Matilda, she said, this was the conclusion of their first interview. And when the answers to the first list of questions were typed and given to the people who were waiting for them, they were excited that I was able to get the alien to say something. However, they finished reading my answers and were very disappointed that I could not understand more clearly. They now had lots of questions because of the answers I received to the first list of questions. An officer told, this is Matilda, who was working for the government. She said, an officer told me to wait for further instructions. I waited for several hours in an adjoining office, and I was not allowed to continue my interview with the alien. However, I was well treated and was allowed to eat, sleep, and use the restroom in the facilities where I wanted. Eventually, a new list of questions was written for me to ask the alien, and I gathered that quite a few other agents, governments, and military officials had arrived to the base. They told me that several other people will be in the room with me during the next interview so that they could prompt me to ask more details during the interview. However, when I attempted to conduct the interview with these people in the room, I received no thoughts or emotions or other perceivable communication from the alien. Nothing. The alien just sat there. So the alien was giving her images and reading her mind and putting things into her mind. And so when the alien knew that there was other people, because she can pick it up, she was like, forget this. You know what I'm saying? We're not going to do this. You know what I'm saying? So you got to understand, this higher intelligence was like, y'all crazy, and y'all think y'all pulling a fast one, but I know everything. And so she said that as they continue, we all left the room. The intelligence agents became agitated about this. He accused me of lying or making up the answers to the first questions. I insisted that my answers were honest and as accurate as I could make them. Later that day, so you better believe that the lady was under a lot of pressure. That's why she released these up on her leaving and send it to this guy in an envelope and everything. So later that day, it was decided that several people would attempt to ask questions to the alien. However, in spite of their several attempts and different experts, no one else were able to make communication to the alien. So over the next several days, a psychic research scientist came back, each flown in from the base to interview the alien. Her name was Gertrude, something other, and I don't recall her last name, she says. But on another occasion, an Indian clairvoyant, so they was bringing in psychic named Krishna, came into the base to try to communicate with the alien. Neither one was successful getting the alien. Her name was Gertrude or something. This was probably, okay, so now they're saying it was probably Gertrude Schneider, who was a notable experimental psychologist and parapsychologist at the time. So see, these names are coming together. And the alien, yeah, you're right, Dr. Strange. The alien was like, I ain't talking with nobody with no bad vibe. I ain't talking to nobody. I'm not doing it. You know what I'm saying? And I already know what y'all up to. So when it comes down to that, and pretty much. All right, y'all give Mike a shout for a blessing to the cash out. Appreciate it, brother. Appreciate it. So that's when they went into the second interview, and we can keep going into a few more of this, but boy, when it gets down to some of the deep stuff, like I said, when she started talking about the pyramids, The alien talked about it. They talked about the pyramids. And she says, listen, she said the pyramid civilizations were intentionally created as part of the ISBE prison system on Earth. Woo. Okay. Remember I told you, and people thought where I was getting that from, and I kept saying this is a prison planet. Our souls are trapped here. She talks about that. She talks about how they came here looking for the souls that was trapped here. That's why they came. There's a soul net around this planet. This is why they want to get off the planet to perish, because if you off the planet and you perish, your soul goes back to wherever. It's not trapped into this soul net. She talks about, that's why people keep it a secret. She goes into, this is a prison planet. We're stuck here, okay? But they're trying to get off the planet. It's why it's so difficult for that to happen, okay? Man, I'm just telling you, woo-wee, it's some good stuff, man. And I've been keeping this under wraps for a long time, but low-key, have I been trapped here? Yeah, think about it. You'll feel it. She says that the pyramid civilization, again, was intentionally created as part of a prison system on Earth. The pyramid is alleged to be a symbol of wisdom. However, the wisdom of the old empire on the planet Earth is intended to operate as part of the elaborate amnesia trap, consisting of mass meaning and mystery. These are opposite to the qualities of the immortal spirit being, which has had no mass meaning, as ISBE is, solely because it thinks that it is. See, we're our spirit beings. She's saying it. Y'all are spirit beings. You don't know this because they've taken that information away from you. And so, man, I know I don't open up a can of worms now. I don't open up a whole can of worms. I know. But we can keep going for tonight and keep talking. Y'all want to keep talking? Let's keep talking. Let me know. And she said that the truth is that every single ISBE, okay, ISBE is an immortal spirit being, okay? So just know the terminology. ISBE is an immortal spirit being, okay? Truth is that every single ISB on Earth came to Earth from some other planetary system. Not one person on Earth is a native inhabitant. Human beings did not evolve on Earth. In past Egyptian societies was run by the prison administrators or priests, who in turn manipulated a pharaoh, controlled the treasury, and kept the inmate population enslaved physically and spiritually. And in modern times, the priests have changed, but the function is the same. However, now the priests are prisoners too. Woo! Now you get what I'm talking about when you hear the Vatican stuff. See, this is the one book they didn't want people to know, but you know now. Man, most people know, but they try to, oh no, we can't let this out. She said it. So the system of religion was an old system that was put in control. Jordan Maxwell talks about it. That was his whole point, that he was telling us this long time ago, that this is what it is. But if you want to go deeper and you want access to all of this stuff, this ain't nothing compared to what I have in here, okay? And you know, whatever. So you contact me, but you already got to know you're spending a couple of $100 to get yourself a drive that you're going to mail here, and then you're going to make a contribution too, okay? But we need some people. We need some real people who want to invest in whatever. So start there. You know, already know. And if 3 or 4 of you, then we're going to cut it off, because we should have enough researchers, and then put it out a little bit in that, you know, you may be tomorrow's podcaster or whatever. I don't expect a lot of people to reach out. I just don't, because I know people, you know, everybody's not into this like I am. But my email is contact@whythebigsecret.com. That's the email address. All right, so let's continue. Let's keep saying some more stuff. I want to, do I have my water over there? Oh, man. I got plenty in the other room, though. Okay. So the prison planet, the system. So the mystery reinforced the walls of the prison. The old empire feared that the ISBs on Earth might regain their memory. See, that's why you hear it all the time. We don't know our power. We don't know who we really are. They have blocked our memory to access who we really are. So that's the whole problem. And remember when you start looking at the soul being reincarnated, how they erase the original memory, and some people get access to their past lives and all this stuff when they have regression therapy and all these things. You can't make this stuff up. So she says that, therefore, one of the primary functions of the old empire and priesthood, again, is to prevent ISBs on Earth from remember who they really are and how they came to Earth and where they came from. And so we know that's happening right now. That's why you have the stuff over there in the other country. The old emperor operators of the prison system and their superiors do not want ISBs, which is immortal spirit beings, which is who we are, and more likely, and to operators of the system. And it says the operators and their superiors don't want the ISBs to remember, and they don't want them to unalive them and capture them and stole of their possessions and sent them to Earth and gave them amnesia and condemned them to eternal imprisonment. So that means all of us been here before, over and over and over. We've been coming back. We keep coming back. I think that some of these other people have figured out a way to come back through, and that's how they can say, okay, and it makes sense when you see people that's 100 years old still trying to make $1 billion more when they don't need no money. It's almost like they had a future to say, okay, I'm going to come back in my own lineage 30 years from now and take over my empire and live again. It's like they know this or something. Remember I said that before, that it was worth noting, that's pretty much. So it said that so they said, imagine what might happen if all of the inmates in the prison suddenly remembered that they were the right to be free. And what if they suddenly realize that they have been falsely imprisoned and rise up as one and against the guards? This is why you hear about the people, the big people are what's the word I'm looking for? The big people are really, really tied up, keeping their secrets, because it's 5 billion people against 1% that runs the world. And if the world finds out, then that 1%, and that's why they said the reptilians, even though they're underneath, that they really are afraid to be discovered, because they have already, there's been a rebellion before. And it's just something that's pretty weird from there. She said that there's a device. She said they're afraid of reason to look like the civilization of the inmate's home planet, a body. Listen, she said they are afraid to reveal anything that looks like the civilization of the inmate's home planet, a body, a piece of clothing, a symbol, a spaceship, an advanced electronic device, or any remnants of civilization from the home planet could remind a being and rekindle his memory. Sophisticated technology of entrapment and enslavement, which were developed over millions of years in the old empire, have applied to the ISBs on Earth within the intention to create a false facade from the prison. These facades were installed on Earth in totality and all at once. Every piece is a fully integrated part of a prison system. This includes religion. Oh my God. She said this includes religion, mumbo jumbo, double speak. Every pyramid civilization uses this as a part of the control mechanism to keep populations enslaved by force, by fear, and by ignorance. And that the geometric designs, mathematical calculations, astronomical alignments are part of the false spirituality based on solid objects rather than immortal spirits, in order to confuse and disorient the ISBs on Earth. So you remember how they talked about the geyser pyramids and all this were aligned in certain areas, all of our historians, oh man, it's perfectly aligned. She said that this stuff was done on purpose to distort our frequencies. We're saying they're emanating stuff and they have this high power. Well, maybe it is high power because they're blocking us from, retain. It's deep. It's deep. I think I better stop there. We've been here a couple of hours, and tomorrow we're going to go deeper into this. we'll go deeper as a whole show tomorrow. That's long. I got a dental appointment in the morning. If the dentist say otherwise, I'm not going to have some dental work that I can continue to talk, or if it's, whatever, then we'll continue. But if not, if you see the show around 6 posted for 8, then, we're not going to do the uncensored, because we're going to talk all on out here tomorrow. I got a guest for next week, so I'm working on that for the uncensored. But in the meantime, we could do, what we're doing here. Let me look in the chat. What do y'all think about what we talked about tonight, how we went into this? Let's communicate in the chat a little bit before we go. Let me know your thoughts. Put some stuff on the screen. Thank you for the 2 people that contribute to the show tonight. I want to appreciate you. I got 1 or 2 inquiries about this, so maybe 2 more if these are serious. And once again, I showed you all the information there that we have in this thing, and all of those things, and pretty much and everything else. I'm just so excited to, for where we're going, and I just thought it's time for me just to have real conversations and stuff, and give you some stuff that, hey, let's just have some real talk. As though you were sitting right here with me, and that's just how I feel about it, and pretty much from there. But I'm not here to try to put fear or anything in anyone. we're just having a conversation, and we can both agree to disagree, and we can both know that we're not talking about cognitive dissonance or dissonance, right? Or whatever. Okay. I don't butcher the word. Maybe I need to find the word. And pretty much, and everything else. And and so we will do that. I think it's important that we thank you. And I think it's important that we think about those things, right? We really think about not only what we're up against, but we think about our purposes and all those things. In fact, there's a couple more things. Maybe I continue to go over a little more. I don't know. I love this stuff, man. And they talked about the polar axis and the pole shifts and stuff. You know what I'm saying? They talked about how the polar axis of Earth shifted. Remember we talked about pole shift? So she talks about that. So that talks about the Nibiru stuff, right? That goes back to LG talking about, will his live stay up? I have no clue. They may take it. As soon as we hang up, they'll send me a notice or whatever, YouTube, or strike it down or whatever. I may just even cut it right until we talked about this book stuff and really agitate them, and just kind of go into that. So that may be what we would do too, because we talked about this an hour in, so a lot of people don't go that far, and pretty much. But okay, so I put the link. Remember, so I want you to download it. But when you order the physical book, support that author, get the deluxe study edition, and because it's going to have the interview at the top, and then he's going to have footnotes. He's going to describe everything to you. The alignment of the pyramids in Giza on the ground matches perfectly the alignment of the constellations of Orion, and is seen from the sky of Giza. And so they talked about the deal on that and what was happening on that part. And all right, so y'all still kicking my butt over this word cognitive dissonance, okay? But y'all do understand when I mess up, right? So when I mess up and say a word wrong, y'all do understand when I said wrong, right? Doesn't that make sense though? So if I said that I was going to give you $1 billion and I said I'm going to give you a babalia, and then I hold up the money, would you still take it, or would you correct me and be like, no, you better say it right. You better say you're going to give me $1 billion, right? Or would you just take it because your mind understands that I said $1 billion, right? But I get it though. I mean, I had it, man. When I first started my career, there was people telling me like, man, they're going to laugh at you. Like, Carrie, they're going to laugh at you because you be mispronouncing words. And I'm like, okay. You know what I'm saying? I don't have a stutter, but, and I used to and whatever. Thank you. She said, we got you. You know what I'm saying? But I'm just saying, I just somehow. Okay. And all right. So listen, here's another part. They talk about the Nephilim. She talk about Nephilim. Ooh, we need to talk about that. She said, for example, the history of Earth, according to the Jewish people, describes the Nephilims. And they said that the Nephilims was a race, pre-flood race, which were referred to in the Bible as giants. And she talks about, they say Genesis and everything else. But at the bottom, the wickedness of the Nephilims carried with a heavy toll. Genesis alludes to the corruption of the Nephilim had caused among humans and themselves. So now you get it to where our DNA was tampered with, right? And they said in Genesis 6:4, the Nephilim was on earth in those days, and also afterwards, when the sons of gods went to the daughters of men and had children by them. They were the heroes of old men of renown, and Nephilim was a race of giants that were produced by sexual unions of sons of God, presumably fallen angels, and the daughters of men. Translated from Hebrew text, the Nephilim means fallen ones. They were renowned for their strengths. Now, the origination of the Nephilim begins with a story of fallen angels. Shemasa, or whatever, the angel of high rank, led a secret of angels to descend to earth to instruct humans of righteousness, and the tutelage went on for several centuries. But some of the angels pent for the human females. Boy, y'all started this mess. See, let me tell you something. When I read this, you know how we hear the Adam and Eve story, that Eve was deceived and got Adam to build to whatever. What if that story was changed so that we don't really know the truth, that it was the women, you ladies, who started it? Because she says in here that the daughters of men, and let me back up, that but soon the angels penned for the human females, and then after lusting, the fallen angels instructed the women to magic and conjure and mated with them and produce hybrids. If y'all just had kept your legs closed, right? If you know what I'm saying? So maybe the serpent did have some tongue, but you get what I'm saying is that it had nothing to do with us men. You women started this process. So when y'all be like, yeah, we gave birth to everything. And so the Eve and Adam and Eve story maybe was real, but since it went to a religious text, they changed it, because clearly she's saying that it was the daughters of men, who after lusting, the fallen angels instructed the women in magic and conjuring and mated with them and produced hybrid offsprings, the Nephilim. And the Nephilim were gigantic in stature, their strength and whatever, and appetites were immense. Upon devouring of all humankind resources, they began to consume humans themselves. Y'all started this mess. She's talking about don't hate on women. I know, right? You know what I'm saying? But it's like, think about it, though. Think about, we're not going to hate on women, Janine, but think about it. Women has been really, even in historic stuff that she's talking about. But if you go back and you look at King Kong, it was a woman that brought him down. He was a big, mighty King Kong. Mighty Joe Young, Samson. Historically, all your movies, were brought down. The biggest of the kings and Hercules. All this was my boy from Troy. What was his name? Achilles. That's my guy. You know what I'm saying? He was a warrior. Woman. And I was just watching the movie The Mayor of Kingston. That is a series, boy, of just violence, and it's just top notch. And it was a woman that just destroyed all. Oh man! Now I'm not saying that I wouldn't still get with a woman. Sonia said, "Thank you, handsome. Thank you, sweetheart, for recording and all that." Judith, I saw you struggle. I tried to help out. You know what? You always help me, so I ain't worried about that. I'm just saying that, hey, it's all good. You still love me, even though I say cognitive nemesis or whatever. So, all right, it's all good. So what I'm saying is, we got to go back and start looking at history and blame somebody. You know what I'm saying? Damon says, my mom says women are aggressors, not men. Man, think about it. Think about it. I mean, you know what? You know what? You kind of want we ain't even going there. So we're just gonna keep going. I'm not even gonna go there. But anyway, so the Nephilim stuff is some good stuff that they're talking about. But they're talking about the other pyramid civilization was set up by the old empire on Earth. They was established. Now, see, this is where a lot of this stuff changed too. So she said that these are established in Babylon, Egypt, China, and Mesoamerica. And the Mesoamerica area provided service facilities, communication stations, spaceports, stone quarry operation for these false civilizations. So that goes back to a lot of this stuff was already here. Spaceports, stargates, and all these things. We just, like, again, they weren't making this stuff. They had other technology of the mines and everything else. So it was a little bigger. So that was probably the scenario of all of those things. You get what I'm saying? And pretty much, but it's not so much how things would function, so to speak, if you get what I'm saying. So just think about it when it comes down to this, that, you know, we're looking at, like, again, some stuff. Coincidentally, one of the most serious crimes an ISB could commit in the old empire was to violate income tax regulations. Income taxes was used as slavery mechanism and punishment into the old empire, and the slightest error in tax reports made ISB untouchable and followed by imprisonment on earth. So you think about the tax system, the Rockefellers, remember how they became wealthy? Somebody told them that. That's why, though, they became the wealthiest families in the world, because it goes all the way back to the original bloodlines and everything else. And so therefore, money, the system of money was already designed. Wealth and power was already designed before we got here as a control mechanism. And if we didn't grow into it, learn it, or whatever, this is why it's so elusive to most people. And as we begin to do things like that, so it brings in a lot of dots. And this is where it does this, where she talks and brings in the systems that we are today had already begun, and everything else. But again, we don't have to go too much. This is deep. So maybe tomorrow, like I said, if the dental thing comes out good, we will continue to go down a rabbit hole. But again, get your copy of it. In the meantime, if you have not, I'll put it into the chat, Google Drive. You can download it, but do support the author and get original copy. Okay, just go to Amazon, buy it, but make sure you get the Deluxe Study Edition, because you want this in your archives. You want to hold this book, and believe me, it's a big book, but you can read this within a day or two, because it has a lot of the interview stuff, and at the bottom of footnotes. So that's a study guide, so you can go through it, read it, learn it, and really go through some stuff, and then you can come back and find some other stuff to do. It goes into MK Ultra, it goes into the different things, the U.S. General Accounting Office report, but the alien tells the stuff, and it goes into that creature that they put on Earth that I used to talk about, and said that, hey, you should know we made you because we put something on here to let you know, and everything else. So I think it says, that information from there. All right. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoy everything. I enjoyed talking about it. It's something I always been want to talk about. And like I said, tomorrow or next week, we'll just go through this thing and just make it a journey for all of us. By that time, you'll be able to follow along and all that stuff. And pretty much now, if this video gets sniped tonight, then we ain't talking about it. We ain't going to talk about it. Whoa. Okay. So real quick, damn it, I was getting ready to go, but we'll talk about this tomorrow. But she goes into the Anunnaki. She says on land, the domain search party was referred to as the Anunnaki. You remember how I told you that some of the people came here and they lost them? And so we heard that story before. So now she talks about the true Anunnaki, or it was called, some of the members of the Lost Battalion have been found in oceans. And listen to this. I highlighted this. Okay, so good darn it. Okay, listen to this. All right, we got to attention. Listen to this. Do y'all remember that someone said that there was an issue. Now I need everybody participating on this. Okay, so if you heard this, come on, I need you to put this in the chat. I'm real excited about what I'm about to say. Do you remember that they had a problem with, or there is a law that we're not supposed to interact with dolphins? Do y'all remember that? Anybody remember? Put it in the chat. That there was a point that they said that we were not supposed to. In fact, y'all put that in the chat. I'm gonna go get my water. But just remember, they said that we're not supposed to talk with dolphins, okay, and everything else, okay. So I'm going to I'll be right back, and I'm gonna tell you why. This is gonna blow you away. This is gonna keep you up at night. All right. So let me go get my water. I'll be right back. Okay, so all right, so I'm gonna got me some tea. It's called Half and Half Light by whatever his name is, Arnold Palmer. All right, so okay, let me go back. Dolphins use telepathy. I have the receipts. Some fishermen said dolphins work together. We use dolphin to carry out military missions. Why? Because the intuition of psychics. Also, dolphins are able to mate with humans, someone says. Keep going. You could put a disclaimer for the entertainment purposes only. I know, right, Canetta? That would probably be the best thing to do. Dolphins are porpoises or whatever. Yeah. Man, this lemonade, half tea is some good stuff. But it's like, all right, so are y'all ready to hear? Let me know if you're ready. If you're with me, let me know. I know I'm just trying to get some little artist interaction or audience interaction. Yeah, let's go with that word. And then we will see what we have here. All right, so listen. She said when the Anunnaki, when some of those people were, when they came here, some of the Anunnaki, listen closely, what's about to come out of my mouth. Don't slap me. She said, some of the members of the Lost Battalion, remember they said 3,000 or whatever that was left behind, have been found in oceans inhabiting the bodies of dolphins and whales. Dolphins have long played a role in human culture. Dolphins are common in Greek mythology, and there are many coins. So think about what she just said. There is a ordinance of they don't want us talking and communicating with dolphins, and people said how they use this, whatever. But she says that some of them, remember they tried to give us that movie, to give us that symbolism in the movie Avatar, right? Because they always try to hint those messages and everything else. But she said it, that some of the members of the Anunnaki, the Lost Battalion, have been found in oceans inhabiting bodies of dolphins and whales. Hot diggity dang. I mean, I'm telling you, go back and look at the stories of the dolphins and all that. I'm telling you, this is one of the book they didn't want to get out, right? And this is why I was telling y'all that. And on land, the domain search party for members are referred to as Anunnaki by the Sumerians and Nephilims in the Bible. Of course, their true mission and activities were never disclosed to Homo sapiens, and their activities have been purposely disguised. Therefore, the human stories, the legends about Anunnaki and the other members of the domain search party have not been understood and were badly misinterpreted. So they've been lying to us all. But back to the dolphins, and they were saying that the dolphins are known in Greek mythology, and there are many coins from the time which feature a man or boy riding on the back of a dolphin, and the ancient Greeks treated them with welcome, and ships spotting dolphins riding in the wake of the waves considered a good omen for smooth voyage. Dolphins also seem to have been important to the Mennonians, judging by artistic evidence from the ruined place in the Kenosis. In Hindu mythology, the Ganges River dolphin is associated with Gain, the deity of the Ganges River. See, y'all remember my symbol, my protection symbol that I use? I don't have it here, but you know, the protection symbol. And I use it because, oh, here it is. I'm gonna put it up here for you. There you go. So that's on the screen up there is the protection symbol. You know, if you went to the website. So I've been knowing about this stuff a long time, but the symbol is blue. It represents water. The underground, the triangle is water. You see the two fish. Fish access the secret places that hidden knowledge couldn't go, which is the ocean. I've been all along giving y'all this messaging for quite some time, but I just wasn't really putting it out there. But it's in the protection symbol. And that's why the people who wear it be talking about, they feel good with it. But some people just can't really understand it, right? And you just don't put it out there, right? When the student's ready, the teacher will appear. But if you look over here at this blue symbol, which you see on my shirts and hats, it is blue because of the water. It has got the two fish because even though I'm a Pisces, so I disguise it as that's my sign. But it's because the fish, the water is where the truth in the symbol, where man can't not go and breathe before these apparatus, right? Of course, I got the owl on there to go through things, all of this. But this is why I have it there, and it's protection and it's charged and everything. And there's people that buy it, but I wear it still. I stopped promoting a little bit because people are like, oh man, because we just wasn't ready for symbolism, right? And hopefully people will be in a deeper fashion, but that's why you see it. And there it is up there. Because it's access to the water, man. That's where the knowledge is hidden, period. All right. So they talk about the winged sun, and they said dolphins are also regarded as Earth's most intelligent animals. Though it's hard to say how intelligent dolphins are in comparison to the species' relative and related intelligence, complicated by different sensory apparatuses, response modes, and nature of cognitive. Furthermore, the difficult and expense of doing experimental work with large aquatic means that some tests which could yield meaningful results still have not been carried out. Because the Anunnaki, they don't want to be messing with the dolphins. Some of those people are dolphins. And they're living in the oceans and stuff. Marduk, man, we can go on tonight. The winged sun is a symbol associated with divinity, royalty, power, and ancient near. This is why we got to talk about symbolism. You know, why I have the trademark. Go look it up right now. U.S. trademark. Look up the word, the symbolizer. It is registered to me. And as Denzel Washington is the equalizer, the vigilante of justice, I am the symbolizer, the vigilante of truth. And I plan on doing seminars and things down the road. So I was positioning my trademarks and everything else for that to come out, man, and to really do some stuff, man. And so this stuff is really good and pretty much. Lori, thank you for the support. Thank you, Lori. Yeah. No, mermaids is a woman, Judith. Y'all cannot have every damn thing, okay? What about mermaids? What about them? They're women. No. Y'all cause enough trouble. If I tell you the truth about mermaids, we will never be the same again. Now, the truth about mermaids, if you go look at the viral pictures, those are some ugly things. Those things are really, really ugly. Women with fishtails. Okay. All right. So we're going to talk about mermaids. No mermaids. Not tonight. Not tonight. We'll talk about dogs and Sean, but no mermaids. We're not doing mermaids. No mermaids. All right. So okay. So we've had a great conversation. We've been here 2.5 hours. And now the Bilderberg group is in here. See, all of the stuff back to these other hidden groups are in here. And so it's something that we need to talk about, right? And understand that, you know. But they talk about the attendees of the Bilderberg groups, include bankers and all that. So these people have been around for quite some time that tie into this alien stuff. And she talks about a lesson in biology. This is where it gets pretty deep when she was saying you will find evolution mentioned in stuff. But you got to get a copy of it. And like I said, I'm just flipping through, but we'll have some more conversation and tell you what the alien said in the interview. But you can get it yourself. I really just want to wet your beak so that you go and get things in pretty much. So at this point right now, there's 180 people in here. If you, again, I have 5 of these left. This is the luminous necklace that we have right here. Dependent people have already been writing. Man, I love it. The ones who got theirs. If you want, you can go to our website, truthversusauthority.store, and you are able to get you one of those. You can get you. This is why the frequency for water is so powerful. We talk about that in there. So these are the water codes. This is for vibrational energy. There's a code for pure love. There's a code for pure money, love and abundance. I've been doing a lot of this because I think in about another 2 months, I'll be ready. I don't know, maybe next year I'll be ready to date again, right? Or something. But so I wanted to bring up really true love and abundance. So that's the code. You put this and put the water on it, and you program the water. Now you know why the water is so powerful, but you can get you a copy of this, use it over and over on the website and everything else. The book of sacred secrets is there. It's all downloadable. You can go Truth Versus Authority. There's a link in the description. Download your copy there. And now you're starting to get some information. But anyway, we just got a few of these left. And let me put it on the screen real quick so that I don't distort a lot of you. But this is where you can do. You can cash out $45 and put your name and telephone number. I'm going to call you personally, and we'll talk tomorrow, whenever. And give me your address then, but let's talk about this stuff. Maybe you can get on our inner circle or something or whatever. But this is just my way of giving back so that you have something. But just know that this luminous means something. It's more than a symbol. It's a bond. It marks you as one who can see in the dark, who hears what others ignore, follows the truth, even when it's hidden. You don't wear it for fashion. You wear it to remember who you are. You are the initiated, watched by none, watching all. We have to take in the power of symbolism. That's why I'm into symbols, the power of symbolism and all of that stuff. And again, you could do that, but you can go in the site. What if somebody don't have Cash App? If you don't have Cash App, you can go to the website, Truth Versus Authority. You just order it through there, and then it's going to charge for a little shipping and whatever. And I'll still send it out to you or whatever. But if you did the Cash App or whatever, like I said, then I can exchange telephone numbers. And maybe you don't want to talk to me, but regardless, I still want you to support me if you could. Support the community and what we're doing. So you still can go to the truthversusauthority.store is down in the description of this video, so you'll be able to do that as well. Or I remember that Mr. Liphit, okay, they were cursed from mating with the fallen angel. Yeah, they're a little late in the conversation, but you're true. Now the sirens was something else. Well, which is Starbucks, Roy, and we talked about that as well. All right, so with that being said, y'all all good? All right, I love you. I love each and every one of you. Again, it's 100 and some in here. Please, if you have not, hit the like button on the video right now. Let's see if we can get it up. Let me look and check, see if we got a little likes on here, and see if you could hit the like button and all that good stuff. Let's go back. And all right, so we got 183 likes. Appreciate it. Maybe we can get 10, 20 more. I refresh the screen or whatever. But I appreciate you all and everything else. And then we'll try to be here tomorrow if the dentist appointment that I have at 10 a.m. and then depending on how I'm feeling after that, or, it's a cleaning. And if they got to do anything else, we'll see. And it ain't going to take them that long. And, it's not all my teeth are there anyway. So, we'll just see, what they're talking about and what they're doing. All right. So we got about 5 or 6 more likes after that. So thank y'all for that. And we will put it. Now I could cut this video to the part we talk about the book. And I think it can make an extra video too. or I just leave it up because sometimes people don't get to go through an hour or so to get to the good parts of the book. So I may crop it, put it back up, and still have 2 parts of it or something. And we just may do that too, and see all of it. Yeah, Starlight said, "I hope it all goes smooth today." I know, man. My goal is to get a whole new Hollywood smile next year, and they said that'll be like $50,000. So that is what I want to do. That is what I want to do. All right. So once again, we have just a little more room for the drive if you're going to be interested in it. All right. Cool. If you don't have notifications up, so we're good, brother. If you do, I have notifications up. Okay, cool. All right, y'all. So I'll see y'all tomorrow, and let's roll.
Why did Ruby shoot Oswald? Was there a conspiracy?
In a world shrouded in darkness and obscured by deception from the big secret keepers, a burning question ignites in the hearts and minds of truth seekers. Why? Let's dive into the abyss of the unknown. Challenge the limits of our understanding.
This bizarre sequence of double killings raised great questions. Who actually fired the shot that killed Kennedy?
Pierce the veil of secrecy.
Cattle found dead and the manner of their deaths are a real mystery.
Anyone who is concerned about lead in the drinking water in Flint.
And venture into the realm of conspiracies and extraterrestrial evidence.
A huge explosion now, raining debris on all of us. We better get out of the way.
Let us consider the question, why the big secret?